Hello everyone, welcome to this video Alteryx hands-on practice questions. In this video we will be creating weekly reports using batch macro for a month, where month will be a user input. Below are the topics covered. Mainly we will be using formula for getting the weeks and interface tool, that is a control parameter for the batch macro. Our data is from SSMS, that is the SQL Server Management Studio, the Adventure Works database 2019, where I'm selecting the start date of the table, which is production work order, and the order quantity from there, which is the sum. Here I'm passing a date range for which I have to get the data. Now, our task would be the user would pass a date whichever month they want. Example, user is passing November 2012. So our code will break that into 4 to 5 weeks, whichever weeks are there. So let's see our output is going to give us 4 to 5 outputs based on the number of days in a month. The first sequence will be 1 to 7, then we will go to 14 plus 7, which is 21, again 21 to 20, 22 to 28. So if it is a Feb, we'll stop at 28. If it's a leap year, we'll take only 29. And if it's a normal month, we'll take from that day, which is 29 to 30 or 31, respective for the month. I hope this is clear. Now let's move on to Alteryx. First of all, I'm using an input data to connect to my database. You need to have a connection and database drivers installed for this. For more details on Alteryx with SQL, there is a video. I'll give the link in the description box. The SQL editor, I'm entering the SQL which I have to run. So yeah, as you notice, I'm using two date parameters here, which is July 11th and July 13th. Then I'm using control parameters from the interface tool here. This is the one. And I'm changing the action. To change the action, just drag this control parameter to the top of the lightning symbol, which is shown on the tool, and this will generate the action tool here. In the action tool, I'm selecting the SQL statement which I have to run, and then I'm checking this box to replace a specific string where I'm going to replace 11th of July. Similarly, I'm doing another control parameter to replace the 13th of July, which is the start date and end date for this query to run. So in this way, we'll be limiting the query to run based on the user input. I'm using select tool to change the data type of start date to date. Next, I'm using a filter where I'm defining that start date should be greater than or equal to July and start date should be less than or equal to 31st of July. So this way we'll be limiting the data after it's being extracted. For this exercise, we'll be passing in the same dates for both this and this, but I'm just showing in case you are maybe getting a date for a year and then filtering out based on few months. For our filter, to change these two values, which is 1st of July and 31st, again we can use a similar fashion the control parameters to replace the strings. I'm replacing the string here, and again I'm replacing the string for this query. Finally, I'm getting the output in CSV. Since there are multiple sheets, I have kept a format of T/01, and I'm going to replace this again using control parameter where I replace the value t/01. Okay, I hope this macro is clear. Now let's move on to the weak logic. For that, I have a workflow. I'm passing in a text input, which is just a dummy input because the formula tool would need an input and won't run without it. Now in the formula, I'm creating a date, which is just a normal any date you can give. Now I'm using a date from this interface tool, which will accept the user input of date and then update the value. So here I'm updating the expression value which I have passed in, which is this. So in this way, the input which is passed by the user will depend on the date which is passed by the user. So it will not be a default date. Next, to get the first start date, we will be taking it as first of the month. So for that, we will use a date trim function. We'll pass in the date which we have created and pass the parameter first of month. So you see first date here for 2011 July. First date is 1st of July. Our first end will be 6 days from it. So I'm just adding 6 days using the date time add, which is 7th of July. For second start, we need 8. For that, we will take the previous first end and add 1 day to it. Then for 14, again for the second start, we are adding 6 days. This goes on for third start, which is 15. Similarly, we'll have third end, which is 21. Fourth start will have the same thing, similar pattern, as well as the fourth end. So we are ending at 28 here. So most of the months, like including Feb, they are going to have at least 28. So these 4 files will be created every time. Now, depending on if it's not a Feb or a normal Feb, which is not a leap year, there will be 5 files which are going to be created. Now, let's see the logic for the fifth start. Here I am checking if the date difference between the last of the month and the fourth end is 0, then place this field as null. What this means, fourth end is 28 and last of the month of normal Feb is 0, which is 28. So in that case, we don't need to run it because we already had that where clauses replaced with a fourth end. Next, if the date difference between the last of month and the fourth end is 1, which is the leap year of Feb, then we need to get the last day of the month. Else, if it is normal any other month, then we need to get the fourth end plus 1, which is 29. Moving on to our the last parameter. Again, we are defining the same thing. If the fourth end, which is 28, is equal to the last of the month 28, then it is null. We don't have to do this calculation. Else, we will take the last day of the month. I hope this is clear. Now, since these all values are coming in columns, I'm using a transpose. The first transpose is for all the start days, first, second till fifth. So this is the output I will be getting. And second is for all the ends. Now I'm going to merge or join them based on the record position. So this is how I get the first series will run from 1st of July to 7th of July, then 8 to 14, 15 to 21, 22 to 28, 29 to 31. Then I'm using a filter value to get out all the nulls, because if it is a Feb, the last column, that is the fifth sheet, will be null. Then I'm using a record ID. I'm using a select to select only the required columns and omit the other unnecessary ones. Next, I'm using a formula to add a word sheet to the record ID to get me the sheet names. This will be our output sheet names. And finally, I'm passing on the macro. So to add the macro, right click, insert, click on macro, and you will get an option of the macro which is being created to add it. here in this workflow, we'll have to check it as a batch macro, standard macro, or anything. But here it is an analytical app because we are passing in user input. I think in this one you have to check that batch macro part as well. Okay. Now in this control parameter, we have to pass because it was accepting four user inputs, right? 4 to 5. So start will be the start of the value which we are receiving from here. Okay. Yes, getting three values. We have created three: start, end, and name. End will be the end. So these two fields will be used for our SQL query. The file name, this will be used as the name of the file. Let me show you. So here we had this control parameter as file name. Here we had sq start and sq end, which we have defined. Sorry, sq start and sq end, which is defined below. This will be for our SQL. And then for the filter, this the start and end is for our filter. So here I have defined start and this is the end, and if you see, this is referencing the filter. So in this way we are able to dynamically get all the values. Now let me run and show the output. The data in the database is 2014. So first let me show one data for Feb. So Feb is for 28 days. This will create us 4 files. I think some exception is happening while saving it. So now let's see output. We got 4 files. Starting from first, I just kept the start date to see what is being created. This runs from 1st to 7th of the month. And this is again 22 to 28. So we get all the quantities for those days. Now let's see something which is a leap year as well. Leap year, let's go to Feb 2021. Sorry, 2012. So this is a leap year. Let's select any day. Here, let me just show the last file. So we have the last, which is 29th, being captured here. So 1 to 28 are there, and fifth file is 29th. Now let's check any other normal month. Let's check October. Now this is October. October will have 31st days. So we see 29 to 31st is in the sheet 5, and the top will have 1 to 28. I hope this video was useful. If so, please subscribe to the channel for more such videos. And thank you so much for watching.